All right, we are now joined by Locked On Razorbacks podcast host John Nabors. John, it's pretty crazy to think that the last few weeks we've had, the last day we've had of Arkansas just, obviously struggling the past few weeks in the early parts of the season, to where we are now, to where Sam Pittman is no longer the head coach. I think if you would have said that a year ago, a few weeks ago, a week ago, no one would have been that surprised. But what was your first reaction to seeing that press release, Sam Pittman relieved of his duties?
I wasn't surprised. Listen, you can't have that type of performance against Notre Dame and expect nothing to change. You could tell the booze raining down right before halftime. You gave up 42 points in the first half. Seems like the team, players, let go of the rope, and it's just not a healthy thing to have, especially going into a bye week. If you're going to make a move, that's the time you got to make a move. I hate it because you never want to see something like this happen, but it's inevitable, and it seemed like it was the right move for him at this time.
Yeah, let's kind of go back, look at this as a whole. The 6 years that Sam Pittman was here, how did this happen to where it took 6 years? He was on the hot seat for like half of those years, and now it's official. It kind of finally happened. How did this happen?
Well, it just seemed like that you kept waiting for Pittman to kind of bust through a little bit. I think one of the worst things to happen to Pittman, ironically enough, was that year two when he went 9-4, because you had such instant success compared to where you were with Chad Morris that it kind of bought him a little extra time. It bought him some extra faith, some benefit of the doubt. And when things started going wrong, people were, all right, well, hey, but that 9-4 season, hey, but remember that 9-4 season. But I think just some key decisions that were bad, certain coaching hires. I think the Dan Enos thing was a bad deal. I think that he had some ideas that were really good, but they didn't pan out the way they did. Bad timing with NIL and transfer portals, which I've always said, Sam Pittman, if he was the coach 10 years ago in the way that college sports were then, I think it would have been great, honestly. But that's not the era that we're in anymore. And, again, it's unfortunate, but it's a situation where if you're Arkansas, if the Arkansas football fans, you want to win, and this wasn't a winning product.
Yeah, and you mentioned that 2021 season. It was a season in which was so celebrated, so winning all the rivalry games, winning the Outback Bowl, all these really exciting things that Arkansas did, and then you give him a contract extension after that. And, that only hurt for just having him for a few extra years that you maybe didn't want him, but that hurt Arkansas financially. That hurt Hunter Yurichek's athletic budget when he has to pay more of a buyout to Sam Pittman today. So all these things that factor in because of the success that happened with the 2021 season. And also, if you look back to last year, this is the one thing I keep going back to. If Arkansas doesn't win that Tennessee game, if they lose that game, if Nico Amaliava doesn't run out of bounds as the clock expires, then you're looking at a below 500 season, not making a bowl game. Sam Pittman probably been out of here much earlier than he is now. So it's a lot of what ifs, but that's just sports, and that's how it is with Arkansas football.
It's crazy to think back to last year that if Arkansas would have lost that game, not made it to a bowl game, gone 5-7, would you have for sure fired Sam Pittman? We'll never know. But because they kept him on, I think a lot of Razorback fans are sitting here saying, we just wasted the last 9 months.
Yeah.
You essentially ended up firing the coach, which many Razorback fans wanted Sam Pittman gone after the end of last season. And then you're 5 games into this year, and he's fired anyways. It just seemed like there was a waste of time. It was a waste of energy. It's a waste of money. And these are things that Hunter Yurichek's going to have to answer for, especially when it comes to the finances of everything. We'll see what all plays out. But there's a lot. It's a lot bigger than just Sam Pittman. Not all problems are just going to go away because he's no longer the coach. Yeah. There's a lot of things that have to happen.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned that when I think people see a head coach being fired, they always look to what's next. They look at bigger picture things, which is completely valid. But for this team, for this year, where do they go from here? Like, my interpretation, looking at it just last night, the season's not completely over. Now you fire your head coach, and I disagree with the point I made last night. I think it might be over, and he might be giving up on the season a little bit and focusing on the future. But where does the team, the guys who are sticking around, who are still playing, a guy like Cam Ball who can't go anywhere, where do they go from here?
That's the ultimate question. Every player is different. Some players may respond to this in a really positive way where maybe they didn't think Pittman was the guy. Maybe they needed that change, that new energy. And so they're going to come out and get fired up and want to put forth the effort. Maybe not effort's the best way to put it, but just get out there and be rejuvenated after a bye week and take on Tennessee on the road. But there may be some players that really love Sam Pittman, and it didn't make a difference to him at all. They're like, well, that's fine and all, but I'm still out of here. I still don't care anymore. That's what's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out. Because last time I checked, Tennessee is a good team. Tennessee's tough to win on the road. So they have their work cut out for them. But I think it's going to be fascinating to see how the individuals, but also the team in general, respond because we were all hopeful that they would respond after those 2 close losses better than what we saw in the stadium against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But now that they got time to let it all sink in, how's the mentality going to be? Guess we'll find out here soon.
Okay, so I did talk about big picture because that's what everyone's looking at, so I do have to ask you about that. Big picture, Arkansas needs a new head coach. Right now it's Bobby Petrino. He's the interim head coach. He might be the next head coach. He might not. There's lots of other names circling around as crazy as Deion Sanders and Nick Saban and John Gruden and Mike Gundy. There's more other names that might be possible to be hired, like a Ryan Silverfield or Jeff Traylor, or the obvious one I'm missing, SMU, Rhett Lashley. So
yeah.
where do they go from here as far as what are your takes on who the next guy should be?
Well, I'm sure it's going to be John Gruden. I'm going to have my plane tracking crew on it. They're going to have
yes,
eyes on the skies, boots on the ground.
Correct,
Obviously, that works every time. But no, what they need to do, and we don't know what the situation is going to be as far as the Yurchek status. I mean, there's a lot of stuff up in the air. But whatever new head coach that they want to bring in, first off, whoever's making the decision, go get the guy you want and do whatever it takes. If it's somebody as ridiculous as a John Gruden, okay, then do what it takes to go get him. If it's Rhett Lashley, whoever it is, do what it takes to get them. And you need somebody who's embracive of the modern era of college sports, especially college football, with the NIL, with pay for play. I know people hate it, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You've got to get somebody who's working the portal, who's energized, who's great with the fans, who's able to politic too, because I think that's a very important thing. You got to have a coach that can go to some of these big donors in the state of Arkansas and say, hey, here's what I need. Let's have a good working relationship. I know I'm a football coach, but it's going to take money. It's going to take some of your efforts. So they need somebody that can do that with the fans and with these big donors. So I'm looking at that, and I also believe that whatever coach or whoever they start bringing in, it's something that you need to really get after right now, because you're ahead of the game. I know there's a few jobs that are open in the college football, but in the SEC, you're the only one. Don't let it happen like last time with Sam Pittman, where you were the first one to fire your coach, but you were the last one to hire a new one. Get after it and make it happen and go get your guy. Plain and simple as that.
Yeah, and hopefully that will help for Arkansas is getting ahead of it like they didn't last time, as you mentioned. And maybe it'll also help that there's less SEC jobs opening. We'll see, what happens with Florida, what happens with Auburn, these other programs that could potentially have their head coaches fired. There's certainly lots of unknowns, still a lot of question marks. What we do know is that Sam Pittman is no longer the head coach of Arkansas. Bobby Petrino is that guy for the foreseeable future. So a lot of craziness. Didn't believe I'd be saying that. You joked about it 10 years ago or a few years ago or maybe even yesterday, but that's the reality of where we're at now here in Fayetteville.